Some of the most important settings that you are going to configure for your field maps applications are the app settings. Now, app settings refer to how field maps behaves and interacts with the maps and with your end users. When you open up your Field Maps Designer, you'll see that there's an App Settings tab. Now, under the App Settings tab, there are a lot of different settings that you'll need to go through and configure. We are only going to go through some of these and not all of them. The first portion that we're going to go through are the collection app settings. Now, the collection app settings refer to how data is collected. And the first parameter that you'll see is accuracy. It's set at a default of a distance of 10 meters for accuracy, which is it reflects about a 63 to 68% confidence interval, which is probably good for most things that you're going to be doing. However, if you will be using high accuracy GPS receivers, then it's probably more appropriate for you to turn on and enforce the 95% confidence interval. If you enable GPS averaging and you set it to be 5 points to average, what that means is you are enforcing a rule that Field Maps has to collect 5 location calculations, and then it has to average the location based off of those 5 data collections for that location. Both the accuracy and the GPS averaging have a lot to do with how you want your accuracy to be approached at the time of data collection. When it comes to streaming, this means when your end user is walking a line and collecting a transect, how often do you want field maps to collect a vertex? If you set it at a distance of 5 meters, that might be too large for the collection that you're doing. Maybe it won't be accurate enough for the curves that your end users are walking. So maybe you want to decrease that. You could also set it to collect a vertex based on different time settings from 1 second to 1 minute. But again, what you're going to want to do is balance the size of the data being collected, because the more vertices you collect, the larger that data is going to be for storage purposes. So you're going to want to balance size versus need. If we look down here at collecting new features, we can set a default. If we choose the default, which is center the map and add a point at your location, what that's going to do is when your end user clicks on a feature to add, automatically that point is going to add the feature where your end user is standing, and they're going to center the map where your end user is standing. So you can say add the point and center the map, or you can say just center the map at a location and then your end user adds the point, or you can say no changes to the map and your end user does everything manually. Manual location determines what happens when a manual location is used to collect that data. So you can say, I would like the field maps to add a point at the location of my end user when they start to add a new feature, but I also want to allow manual location. You can do both. If your end user is standing at the edge of a wetland and they want the point to be added, but then they want to be able to move that point out into the wetland because they are not able to walk out there at the moment, then you can allow manual location to occur. These two settings, the way they are by default, are very good. They're very flexible for your end users, and it's what I recommend you do. If we come down and we look at photo upload size, this is going to be very important. All of these sizes refer to different resolutions. And if you're going to be looking at your photos on the computer screen and just referring to them, then maybe the medium size is good enough. But if you're going to want to utilize these in reports, you want good high resolution photos, large is probably better. And I would recommend against extra large unless you are going to be utilizing photos for large poster, larger graphics, and storage isn't an issue. When storage is an issue, large and extra large can fill up your maximum storage very quickly. So it's something that you're going to want to play around with. When it comes to snapping, what that means is that you are allowing your end user to snap new vertices to existing ones when they're adding new features. Delete all points is beneficial when your end user realizes that maybe they've made a significant error when they're drawing a polyline or a polygon. It's much faster for them to clear all of those points at once and start over than it is for them to delete each vertex individually. When it comes to feature actions, we can enable collect here, which is enabled by default, and that allows a new feature to be created from the location of an existing feature or a dropped pin. So it allows your end user to maybe do some drafting by dropping some pins and saying, I might want to collect data here or here. I'm going to drop some pins. And then later they decide they are going to collect an actual feature at those drop pins. And then they can click on that pin and say collect here. When it comes to copying features and then pasting them into the feature layer, you can allow your end users to copy attributes or copy shape or copy all, and then paste those. Again, feature actions, enabling these really gives your end users a lot of flexibility. For layer filtering, we can choose to keep this off, or we can choose to turn it on for selected feature layers, or we can turn it on for all feature layers. And what this is going to allow our end users to do is filter their map view by specific features within a layer. Let's say that they only want to see high priority features from their road maintenance layer, or they only want to see dead and down trees from their mitigation layer. You can give them that option to do that on their end at runtime. When it comes to location sharing, you can enable location sharing so that you receive the location of your field workers while you're back at the office. But location sharing requires the ArcGIS location sharing license. You must have that in order to enable it for your field maps. And the last settings that we'll look at are the map settings. Map area level of detail means, are we going to limit the level of detail for our end users when they're zooming in and out of an area in a map? Now, I usually don't do this for my end users, but if this is something that will help streamline field data collection for yours, then you can come in and play around with that to see what works best. The default extent is really great to come in and set because oftentimes it's going to be associated with the extent that you last saved within your map viewer. But if you want to be able to work within your map viewer and alter that at different times, and you don't want your default extent to change for your end users, then you can come in here and set that default extent, and it will always be the same for your mobile workers. Allowing your end users to edit in multiple is really great, especially when it comes to inventory of assets. If your end user is going out into the field and looking at 10 different assets within a specific area, and all they're doing is marking those assets as checked, or they're just marking the date that they were inventoried, whatever that is, you can allow them to select and edit multiple at a time, especially if it's going to be the same value placed into all of those features. This is a really great benefit to add for your end users. Enabling markup means that your end users are going to be able to sketch notes and lines and draw directly on the map when these notes, lines, or drawings are not associated with a specific feature layer that's already in the map. That allows them to capture one-off details or one-off sketches that they can then refer back to once they get back to the office. These sketch layers can also be shared back to the ArcGIS Online organization so that they can be used in other maps, maybe pulled into the maps for other end users. But if they are not shared back to the ArcGIS Online organization, then these sketch layers only exist within the field map of that end user who created that layer. And if you want your field users to be able to work in online mode or offline mode, then it's highly recommended that you keep online map turned on by default. And then we can also allow our end users to create new offline map areas, even if we have pre-packaged offline areas for meaningful locations or project areas. It's really great to be able to allow your end users to create offline areas based on their own needs as well.